Hello history enthusiasts, and welcome back to the Alternate History channel. Today we've got a fascinating thought experiment for you as we delve into an alternate world where one of history's deadliest pandemics, the Black Death, never occurred. Can you imagine a world where Europe, Asia and Africa were spared from the bubonic plague that wiped out anywhere from 75 to 200 million people in the 14th century? How different would history be? If you're excited for this journey through an alternative history, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so you won't miss any of our future content. If you have any thoughts, theories, or even more what-if scenarios to suggest, don't forget to drop them in the comments below. Let's unravel the threads of history together. Our voyage into this intriguing alternate timeline begins in the mid-14th century, the eve of the appearance of one of history's most horrifying spectres, the Black Death. In our reality, this plague, believed to be caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis, swept across the Eurasian continent like an unstoppable shadow of death, claiming between 75 and 200 million lives. It was a cataclysmic event that left no corner untouched, drastically reshaping societies, economies, cultures, and even the course of human history itself. But let's imagine for a moment a world in which this nightmarish pandemic never occurred. To comprehend the implications of such a colossal divergence from our known history, we first need to understand the world that stood unknowingly on the precipice of the Black Death's devastation. Europe at this time was in the grip of the late Middle Ages, an era characterized by swift population growth and agricultural expansion, but also marred by frequent famines and socio-political upheaval. Meanwhile, far to the east, the Eastern Roman Empire, also known as the Byzantine Empire, was gradually beginning to heal from the scars inflicted by the Justinian plague that had raged from 541 to 542 CE. Named after the Byzantine Emperor Justinian I, this pandemic, much like the Black Death would do centuries later, wiped out up to a quarter of the population in affected areas, severely weakening the Byzantine Empire. Justinian I was an emperor of grand ambitions. He aspired to restore the Roman Empire to its former glory and embarked on a significant campaign to reconquer the lands that had been lost to the Western Roman Empire. But these dreams were hindered not only by resilient barbarian opposition, but also by the Justinian plague. This plague drastically impacted the empire's economy, demography, and military capabilities, thwarting Justinian's efforts for restoration and leaving the empire in a state of slow recovery and vulnerability to external threats. As we trace the historical lines of this unscathed world, we'll witness an alternative trajectory for both Europe and the Byzantine Empire, unfettered by the devastation of the Black Death. In a world untouched by the Black Death, the trajectory of societies would be dramatically altered. Without this cataclysmic event to disrupt the status quo, we would see major changes in demographics, socio-political structures, economic systems, and even the spread of knowledge and innovation. Firstly, let's visit Europe in this altered timeline. The rapid population growth of the High Middle Ages continues unabated, with cities growing larger and farmlands expanding to keep up with the demand for food. Such a significant population surge likely brings its own set of problems. The pressure on food supply could potentially lead to increased incidents of famine, and with larger urban populations, smaller-scale epidemics may still occur. But the critical difference is that, without the Black Death's overwhelming mortality, these problems would not be devastating enough to cause the sort of seismic societal shifts our timeline experienced. Political dynamics in Europe would also unfold differently. The Black Death is credited with contributing to the decline of feudalism, as the drastic loss of life led to a severe labour shortage, tipping the balance of power towards the peasantry. In our alternate scenario, feudalism's decline might be more gradual, with the system potentially enduring for much longer. Turning our attention to the east, the Byzantine Empire, without the knock-on effects of the Black Death, would likely continue its recovery from the Justinian plague. It's worth noting that the empire might still face its fair share of struggles, like military pressures from emerging Islamic powers. However, without the Black Death depleting its population, it would be much more capable of putting up a sustained defense. Emperor Justinian's dreams of a resurgent Roman Empire could potentially come to fruition in this timeline, assuming the empire manages its resources wisely. In our reality, these ambitions were thwarted by the plague, but in this alternate history, the empire might at least partially restore its former territories, making significant strides in its push towards the west. With the eastern and western realms of this world evolving along different trajectories, we now prepare to delve into the long-term ramifications and broader global impacts of a world untouched by the Black Death. Without the Black Death, Europe might see the Renaissance delayed or altered. The devastation caused by the plague, paradoxically, led to greater availability of resources per person, often regarded as a catalyst for the Renaissance. In our alternate history, this creative explosion might come later as the socio-economic changes, which originally spurred this period of cultural rebirth, would occur more gradually. The Reformation, a watershed event in religious history, might also take a different course. The Church's inability to provide succor during the Black Death led to disillusionment and mistrust among the populace in our timeline, which in part paved the way for the Reformation. Without this catalyst, the Catholic Church could maintain its authority for longer, potentially delaying the Reformation or changing its nature significantly. In the East, the Byzantine Empire, revitalized and undiminished by the Black Death, could continue its reign for a few more centuries. Strengthened and stabilized, it could serve as a bulwark against the Ottoman Turks, altering the course of their expansion and possibly averting the fall of Constantinople in 1453. This would also mean that Eastern Orthodoxy could play a more significant role in shaping Christianity, and the cultural interactions between the East and West might be more extensive. The New World, too, could witness different historical developments. With Europe's population growth unchecked, the push for colonization might come earlier. However, it's also plausible that with larger, denser populations, Europe could be more susceptible to wars and conflicts over resources, potentially slowing the age of exploration. Moreover, in our timeline, the depopulation of Europe due to the Black Death led to the demand for labor from Africa, resulting in the transatlantic slave trade. In a world without the Black Death, the patterns of this appalling trade could be different, potentially altering the demographic and socio-cultural landscapes of both Africa and the Americas. Finally, let's not forget Asia, particularly China. If the Black Death, which originated in Asia, hadn't decimated its population, China could potentially consolidate its power earlier and more effectively. With the political, economic, and technological developments not hindered by such a disaster, it's conceivable that China could emerge as a global superpower much sooner in this alternate timeline. As we close our journey through this untouched world, we're left to marvel at the myriad ways this single alteration to history could reshape centuries of global development. Without the Black Death, the course of human history would be remarkably different, and we can only speculate on the precise shape of this alternate world. Yet, in doing so, we gain a deeper understanding of the interconnectedness of historical events and the profound impacts of such defining moments in our shared past. And that concludes our journey through a world untouched by the Black Death. We've discovered a timeline with potentially stronger Byzantine Empire, different religious dynamics, and perhaps even a shift in power from east to west. But remember, as with all our thought experiments here on the Alternate History channel, this is just one of countless possible outcomes. Thank you for diving into the depths of history with us today. If you enjoyed this exploration, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and share this video with your fellow history enthusiasts. And if you're not yet part of our community, hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss a future dive into what could have been. We love hearing your thoughts, so let us know in the comments below how you think a world without the Black Death would look. Is there another historical event you'd like us to explore next? Let us know, and until next time, keep asking, what if...